This is Rick Rule for the Vancouver Natural Resources Investment Symposium 2021 edition. I'm delighted today to interview Leigh Curyer, CEO of NextGen Energy. It isn't often in a conference like this that we have the opportunity to interview people who preside over true tier one world scale undeveloped assets. But today we're going to have that pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you pay very strict attention to this. Leigh, rather than going right into the project, which believe me, I'll allow you to get a chance to talk about, can you tell us something about your group and your prior successes in mineral exploration and in particular in the uranium sector so that our viewers have an idea who the people behind this spectacular discovery are?
Yeah, thank you, Rick. And look, it's an absolute pleasure to be on today's session. NextGen Energy is a formulation of a management team that has had excellent experience across all the facets of mining, from exploration right through to construction, operation, and then closure. And we've all had experience at very large companies and small companies as well. And it was a conscious decision back in 2010 to bring together a group of like-minded professionals in the mining space and with specific uranium experience to develop NextGen. And we saw that the world was devoid of tier one uranium assets. Our view on uranium and nuclear energy and the importance in climate change was very, very well baked at that time. And we made the conscious decision to get together and go back to exploration to try and find a tier one asset. And so we'd all had good success in other entities, Southern Cross Resources, Uranium One, specifically with myself, Chris McFadden, our chairman at Rio Tinto. And so we set about acquiring properties in the Athabasca Basin and then exploring. And as you've outlined earlier, we were successful in discovering what is now, in the uranium sense, the largest, most highest grade project there is with an elite ESG profile.
So let's talk about two aspects of the discovery. First, for those attendees that we have that don't understand the significance of the Athabasca Basin in uranium, talk briefly about the Athabasca Basin, but then talk about NextGen's discovery in the Athabasca Basin, how, in a sense, it's a new part of a very old and historic territory, and talk something about the economics of the deposit if you see it.
Yeah, sure. And look, with the experience myself, 10 years prior to NextGen, experience with uranium projects right around the world, the average grade of production is 0.1%. Now, in the Athabasca Basin, deposits such as McArthur River, Scar Lake, NextGen's Arrow project, Fission, and they got deposits that range at approximately 100 times that of the current world's average grade of production. So it's the home of high grade, high tonnage mineralization in the Athabasca Basin, Saskatchewan, Canada. The flip side is that they're difficult to discover, but we've been very fortunate in that. And with respect to NextGen, we're on the southwestern side of the basin where there's been historical mining, but not since the 80s. And we took the simple perspective that the geological setting was possibly similar to what is on the east, where they've had a very long, successful period of uranium production. Primarily by Cameco. And in 2014, we discovered Arrow with the very first drill hole on a geophysical target, the 21st drill hole on the property, but there hadn't been a hole within a 4-kilometre radius. And it was actually transparently the 7th ranked target out of 12 that we had on the property when we set out exploring. But given it was February, we needed to be within a certain distance of the lake, and we decided from a practicality point of view to drill the 7th prioritized target. And we knew we were onto a system pretty quickly. You can miss these things by 2 to 5 meters. That's how precise they are, but we had a good hit of low-grade mineralization over a decent intercept. We then sent the next hole 20 meters away in the direction we thought it was trending, and we hit again. And then we took the bold move of sending the third hole 200 meters away, and we hit it again. And after that campaign, we had 8 holes, 7 with mineralization. And then we went back in the summer, and with the 30th hole, we hit, which at the time was the 4th ranked hole in exploration history in terms of grade and intercept for a uranium project. And we knew we were undoubtedly onto a monster, a tier 1 asset. I think that hole now ranks about 18th in terms of exploration history, in terms of size and grade, which conveys just the strength of the Arrow deposit. It really is unique. And when we talk about tier 1, and as you've said, Rick, this is possibly the one asset. From a economic consequence, our PFS study, or our feasibility study, which we recently released, we had previously done a PEA, a PFS, and in February released our FS study, shows it's an absolute economic powerhouse. At a $50 uranium price, NextGen would become a top 15 mining company worldwide. And it's incredible to think that's coming from an asset which is one of the smallest underground mines in the world. We're just moving ore, which is the equivalent of 2 buses every day, a very small volume of ore, yet we'll be producing after-tax cash flow, which would take us into that top 15 mining companies worldwide. And when you consider that the design of our project, as well as the unique technical setting being so competent, has an elite ESG profile, and then overlay on top of that we are producing nuclear fuel, which is the cleanest form of power that is currently known on the planet. It's just an opportunity which just ticks all the boxes, both economically, ESG wise as well. And the company has a fantastic track record with respect to its community and environmental performance, recognized by the PDAC in 2019. And that speaks to us as a group. We've got a fantastic deposit, no doubt about that, technically, but we do really measure ourselves on how do we optimize that as a management team, and we're constantly really pushing the boundaries as to what is achievable and doing it in an elite manner.
Let's return to this feasibility study, and let's note for our listeners that the feasibility study is the highest stage of pre-production document, much more robust than a 43-101 or a preliminary economic assessment, that sort of thing. This is basically a bankable document. Let's note, too, that the $50 US a pound that you used, while it's above current market, is below the International Energy Agency's estimate of the fully loaded cost to produce uranium by the industry worldwide, adding back cost of capital. So $50 a pound is not an outlandish price. I think it's important to note that. Let's go into the project economics a little bit. What did they suggest was the net present value at $50 US per pound?
After-tax net present value of $3.6 billion, which would be producing free cash flow every year of just of $1 billion Canadian.
So you're buying in excess of $3 billion in net present value. And what's both the market capitalization and the enterprise value of NextGen today? In other words, what does this $3 billion cost investors today?
Yeah, at the moment we're sitting at a enterprise value of around 2.7 billion, and the very exciting aspect for investors is, look, NPV wise, producing uranium, selling uranium, this is an economic powerhouse. But with this movement towards decarbonisation, I actually feel that the value of what we're going to producing and carbon offsets, etc., may in the very near future start to outweigh the actual economics of the project in terms of the weighting of value. What we are doing on that basis is absolutely incredible, and the mine will take off the equivalent of 70 million vehicles off the road a year. Now, with the focus on clean air energy and responsible energy generation. That's just an incredible aspect to think that it's here in Canada, in Saskatchewan, from our mine producing 1,300 tonnes a day and removing 70 million vehicles. Tesla produce 500,000 vehicles a year currently, and they've got a market cap in the order of, well, I think it's over $500 billion US as we speak. I think the relativity there is absolutely exciting for the investors of NextGen Energy, and it's also good to know as an investor that you're doing something that is going to be materially positive for the planet.
Yeah, it's not a stretch to suggest that in the future, in certain jurisdictions, that those electric vehicles will be nuclear powered, at least indirectly. But let's move back to the deposit for a little bit. I note that you said that this was target number 7. Hopefully, you will test the first 6. Can you tell us something about the exploration upside that you see at Arrow?
Yeah, no, it's a good point, Rick, and it's something that I at times just overlook. We have only explored 10% of the Patterson corridor that exists on our property, and having found Arrow so quickly, there's another 90% of that corridor alone which we're yet to test. There's also another geological basis that Arrow is actually sitting on top of a much larger system at depth. And now that we've completed the feasibility study, we're in the final stages of completing our environmental impact study, which will be submitted at the end of this year. This summer, subject to COVID protocols and the support of the Provincial Health Authority, we're going to return to exploration. And so we've got 2 drill rigs out there that are going to be looking for additional arrows. And look, we've done a fantastic job technically in discovering it. Were we that good that we found the only deposit with the very first drill hole for a 4-kilometre radius? I don't think so. I think it's very confidently assessed that there's more arrows just along that Patterson corridor, most likely. But the other aspect is we have another 9 corridors on that Rook 1 property running parallel to the Patterson corridor that hosts Arrow. And geophysically, there's actually tastier targets on those corridors as well that we're yet to test. So we haven't been exploring for 2 years with the focus on the engineering, the feasibility study and the permitting, but it's with excitement that we're going to have this exploration going in the background come this summer. And it's an excellent upside to have what is the world's best asset accelerating through development, whilst also having this future exploration upside as well. It's exciting, and the geological team's been getting prepared for this program for now the last 2 years, and with all that knowledge of the 400,000 meters that we've already drilled, all the geophysical studies, I think we've improved the chances of discovery far greater than when we initially set out on Arrow.
Well, this is precisely the type of opportunity that we love to highlight at our conference. It's wonderful to have a great group of people. Well, let's just say it's nice to see nice guys finish first. Nice, too, to have a world-class asset with all kinds of exploration upside in the hands of the team that discovered it and in the hands of the team that is well enough financed to both improve it and advance it. Leigh, thanks as always for your support of the Vancouver Natural Resources Investment Symposium. You've been a multi-year sponsor with us, and congratulations again on a spectacular success.
Well, thank you, Rick. And look, I'd take the opportunity to also show our appreciation of yourself and your organisation's commitment to the sector, because it's that type of support over a very long time which allowed us to facilitate raising the early money, the hardest money, which has generated such a magnificent discovery and what will be hugely material on a global scale with respect to carbon emission reduction. And so the appreciation from myself personally, and it extends way back before NextGen in 2010 as well. So thank you, Rick, and your organisation for everything you do for the sector and the planet.